Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, bring you our 2014 NFL team preview for the Cincinnati Bengals. We're going to take a look at their offense, their defense, as well as their special teams. But let's start off on the offensive side of the football with the quarterback position.
Outside of his 20 interceptions, Andy Dalton statistically had his best season last year. The four-year vet threw for over 4,200 yards, 33 touchdowns, and completed 61% of his passes with a quarterback rating of 88.8. In my honest opinion, Dalton is a guy you can win games with, and that's evident by his 30-18 record as a starter and his nearly 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. Where Dalton struggles is situationally, 4-minute offense, 2-minute offense, end-of-game situations. That's haunted him since his rookie season. The hope is that new offensive coordinator Hugh Jackson's run-focused offense will take some of the pressure off him, which would allow him to become a much better game manager this season. Let's remember, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, and Dalton has gotten better each and every year. He's just fine as the Bengals pivot man. The backup duties will either be handled by veteran Jason Campbell or rookie 5th-round pick A.J. McCarron, who isn't the athlete that Dalton is, but shares a lot of the similar passing traits as Dalton and is just as capable of leading an offense. Gio Bernard put together an impressive rookie season from an all-purpose standpoint, compiling over 1,200 yards of offense. Bernard was actually second on the team in receptions with 56. It's good news, bad news for Bernard this year. The good news is that Hugh Jackson will focus mostly on the running game this year. The bad news, which is not necessarily bad news for the team as a whole, is that he'll still be splitting carries. This year, it'll be with rookie 2nd-round pick Jeremy Hill out of LSU. Hill reminds me a lot of Arian Foster, a big back with very good vision and a slashing running style that's a solid receiver out of the backfield, and I'd expect both Hill and Bernard to get about 700 to 800 yards on the ground, with Bernard producing about the same as a receiver, giving Cincinnati a potent 1-2 punch and the best duo in the division. Ben Jarvis Green Ellis is still on the roster, but I think with Cedric Pierman's special team contributions and the talents of both Rex Burkhead and undrafted rookie free agent James Wilder Jr., Ben Jarvis Green Ellis may be the odd man out, and Wilder is a steal in my opinion because he can play both tailback as well as fullback. The Bengals have a solid 1-2 combination in A.J. Green and Marvin Jones. Green is one of the best receivers in the game, who last year caught 98 passes for nearly 1,500 yards. And as for Jones, despite only starting 3 games, came on big time toward the middle part of the season, finishing second on the team with 714 yards and 10 touchdowns. The Bengals are searching for a consistent and reliable third wide receiver. Mohamed Sanu was drafted to be the number 2 guy, but he has been vastly inconsistent. They lose Andrew Hawkins in free agency, who was primed to be that guy. And while Dane Sanzenbacher factors to be in the mix and has the inside track, I still feel that last year's 6th-round pick Kobe Hamilton out of Arkansas can be what they're looking for in the slot. I'd also keep an eye on undrafted rookie free agent Alex Newts from Buffalo to jockey for a position on that squad. Very solid wide receiver throughout the course of his career. And I look at the tight end position. This is an area of strength for the Bengals with 2 very good options in Jermaine Gresham and Tyler Eifert. Both combined for over 1,000 yards receiving last year, which makes the Bengals offense as a whole that much tougher to defend. Both have the athleticism to be moved around the formation, which create optimum matchup problems for opposing defenses. Orson Charles is an intriguing player because he has the talent and the athleticism, but can't find a consistency, nor wasn't a good fit in Gruden's offense. Maybe that'll change now under Hugh Jackson, who's now the offensive coordinator. The Bengals have a very solid offensive line. The pass protection was excellent, as Andy Dalton was one of the least sacked quarterbacks in the NFL last year. Offensive tackles Andrew Whitworth and Andre Smith are 2 very good bookends that excel on both ends of offense. Both Tanner Hawkinson, who was drafted last year in the 5th round, and Marshall Newhouse, who was brought in via free agency from Green Bay, will provide the depth. Hawkinson can play guard, while Newhouse can play either tackle spot. Now, the ground game is where they needed improvement, and when you look at the center position, that's where they wanted to get better. Third-year player Trevor Robertson is more than capable to handle that job, but is he or will he ever be at 100%, which is why the Bengals selected Russell Bodine out of North Carolina, who was one of the best run-blocking centers in the country. He may actually be an opening day starter for Cincinnati. And while they wait for starting guard Clint Bowling to return from injury, both Mike Pollock and Kevin Zeitler are excellent options at guard and played well last season. And I'd also keep an eye on undrafted rookie free agent Trey Hopkins out of Texas, who should also be quality depth on the interior. Getting Geno Atkins back, who is arguably the best defensive tackle in the game, is a huge boost to an already deep and talented defensive front. Atkins is a difference maker and will look to get back to double-digit sack territory this year. Defensive line coach Jay Hayes and new defensive coordinator Paul Gunther got a chance to play around with the different combinations last season and were still able to maintain a level of success. Amada Pecco is an excellent one-gap penetrator, while Brandon Thompson and Devin Steele are talented guys that work well in rotation. On the edges, they lose Michael Johnson via free agency, but are still in good shape with Carlos Dunlap and Wallace Gilberry, both of whom combined for 15 sacks last year. In the third round of the draft, the Bengals selected Will Clark out of West Virginia, who has slightly different skills than Johnson, but brings the same type of length to the table. The 6'6", 271-pound defensive end had an excellent week down at the East-West Shrine game this year. Robert Geathers and last year's second-round pick Marcus Hunt figured to log more playing time in certain situations, and I'm a big fan of both Larry Black and Sam Montgomery. Both are long shots because of the depth, but are very talented and could make it tough to keep them off the roster. Another impressive unit is the linebacking core. Vontaze Burfict is putting himself in the discussion as one of the better linebackers in football. Last year, Burfict made the Pro Bowl after recording 204 total tackles and 3 sacks. Ray Maualuga played some very good ball last year at Mike, finishing second on the team in tackles, and was much better on both ends as opposed to what we saw in 2012. The other outside linebacker spot is up for grabs with Sean Porter, Emmanuel Lemure, and Jason DeManch fight for starting duties. Both Lemure and Porter figure to see time in sub packages regardless because of their athleticism and what they bring to the table, while Vincent Ray is a capable backup behind Maualuga, and rookie 6th-round pick Marquise Flowers out of Arizona has a lot of similarities to both Porter and Lemure. In the secondary, there's a slight question mark at cornerback. Leon Hall, when healthy, is a terrific corner, but now has had 2 Achilles injuries, so you don't know what he has lost from a speed and quickness perspective. Both Terrence Newman and Adam Jones have played well despite being in their 30s and can't play forever, which is why in the first round the Bengals selected Darqueze Dennard out of Michigan State, whose game is similar to Leon Hall but has much better ball skills. The hope is that the light has finally come on for Drake Kirkpatrick, who had 3 interceptions last year. This is a position where Cincinnati can't afford any significant injuries this season. And look for rookies Lavelle Westbrooks and Victor Hampton to push for roster spots as dime backs and special team contributors. The Bengals have 2 solid safeties in George Ialoka and Reggie Nelson, and they brought in Danielle Manning via free agency, who's actually versatile enough to play both cornerback and safety if need be. Terrell Mays plays more of a rover, nickel linebacker type role, while last year's 3rd-round pick free safety Sean Williams played well on special teams and hopes to see more time in the regular defense this year. A solid overall special team unit here with kicker Mike Nugent, who went 18 of 22 last year on his field goal attempts, and punter Kevin Huber, whose street cred went up about 10 points after taking a vicious blow last year against the Pittsburgh Steelers. He averaged 45 yards a punt in 2013. Wide receiver Brandon Tate is a very good return man and handles both kickoff and punt return duties for Cincinnati, combining for over 1,200 yards last year on returns. The reason for optimism: the Bengals have a solid football team on both sides of the ball that also has the benefit of continuity in the staff despite some of their departures, and they get back one of their best players in Geno Atkins, so there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic if you're Cincinnati. The biggest cause for concern would be the rest of the AFC North. Everyone around the Bengals got better as well, and now these young talented players on offense can't afford to make those mistakes. And as a whole, this team has to play consistently good football week in, week out without any should have been or could have been type losses. The road to the Super Bowl for the Bengals goes as follows. Number 1, they have to be able to run the daylight. They have 2 excellent options in the backfield in Gio Bernard and rookie Jeremy Hill. They have to be able to run the football, and now with more of an emphasis on the running game, it should make them better as a whole. And number 2, Andy Dalton has to become a game manager. A lot of people look at the term game manager as a negative. I think it's a positive thing. Why? Because that means you understand situational football, and if he can play great situational football in the latter part of the season, 4-minute offense, 2-minute offense, protecting the football, as well as in the playoffs, I think this bodes well for him moving forward and helping getting those critics off his back. And third, the Cincinnati defense has to show up in the playoffs quietly, All of the blame has went to Andy Dalton, but that defense had laid eggs the last 3 seasons. They have to play consistent. They have to play how they've played throughout the course of the regular season in the playoffs in order for this team to find themselves in Glendale, Arizona. I have the Bengals finishing second in the AFC North. While they are a talented football team, I think the other teams, i.e. the Ravens, are as equally as talented. And right now, I think they'll compete for the wild card instead of walking into the playoffs as division champs. And don't forget to order your copy of Football Game Plan's latest book, Stiff Arming Football Myths, an excellent book that you can find on our website at footballgameplan.com/books, available in both PDF as well as paperback form. And I also want to give a huge shout out to Bengal fan forums for always showing Football Game Plan support.